Don't touch the tomatoes? Okay, there will be none. This happened to my mother recently. For context, the neighbor and her have driveways that are side by side with a small patch of dirty gravel and weeds between that is basically no manland and is just there. It's about 1.5 feet wide, runs the length of the driveway, and no one really takes care of it, leaving it as a border. My mom also has plenty of tomatoes growing in the backyard, including cherry tomatoes that are a favorite of crows stealing and other birds. Now this spot was a favorite for birds to drop the tomatoes or pick them apart because there were no dogs there while there were in the backyard or main yards, or at least that's how my mom tells it. Eventually the seeds sprout and there are small tomato plants starting to grow. Noticing them, my mom begins to water them regularly as she waters her front yard plants, as she has to walk by them with the hose anyways. This leads to cherry tomato plants sprouting and becoming incredibly fruitful between the driveways. After a while, they were disappearing and my mom figured it was a combination of the birds and the wife of the neighbor couple because she was home all day. My mom didn't care because these were just chance tomatoes. She had plenty in the backyard garden, and it was just nice to have something more than dirt and gravel between the driveways. All was dandy until my mom went to grab a few to snack on while working in the front yard and the woman next door confronted her. She told my mother those were not her tomatoes and she needed to leave them alone. The neighbor woman continued that the patch of dirt and gravel was on her property, not my mother's, though our water meter was in it, and ultimately it was likely a 50-50 split if you even cared to look, which when it was just nothing, no one cared to. So rather than argue with her, my mom said it was fine and she was leave them alone. A few weeks later they had started to dry up and die without the frequent watering from my mom, eventually ending in the dirt and gravel patch becoming just that again. This is just sad, honestly. Instead of having a nice snack for both houses, one had to ruin it. They went from chance tomatoes to spite tomatoes real fast and in a hurry. I like the term, chance tomatoes. I think botanists call plants like that volunteer plants. Good fences make good neighbors. You can't reap what you don't sow. At the edge of my neighborhood there's a stop sign before you turn onto the main road. There's a cherry tomato plant that is caged and tended. Hanging from the cage is a sign that reads, "This tomato plant is a volunteer. So feel free to take a few to enjoy on your walk." Love this. Kudos to your mom. Nice. You reap what you sow and the neighbor reaped nothing. BC she never sowed. Good job, Mom. The neighbor must have thought the tomatoes were magically growing like Jack and the Beanstalk. No more tomatoes for her. What is the upbringing of such people? What made them so miserable in life? SRSLY beyond my understanding. Don't bitch at the hand that feeds you. Stories like this drive me crazy. Why didn't your mom just tell her she planted the plants and she was watering them? So if anything, the neighbor shouldn't be touching them. If more people called out the asshats, there would be less asshats for the rest of us to deal with. I know it doesn't always work out, but even a 10% reduction in asshats would be nice. I read this stories on Reddit about shared driveways or related, and think, why people USA, or places sharing some characteristics, thinks that people will be respectful of private property? In my country, if you don't have a fence, some neighbors will be stealing something. If not the adults, are the children. They are raised entitled. Believe if accessible is to take. Not asking owners if they are allowed to take something. Basically you need a fence. And doors. and cameras. This makes me think of the magicians. Since one character calls another a volunteer tomato, one of those little things that makes me smile whenever I hear it. Sue her for theft of tomato seeds. Those are heirloom tomatoes and they've been in the family for a generation. LMAO. Good times. I'm so jealous that you can actually have wild growing tomatoes. Adverse possession laws actually state that is your mother's land. If she cared for it, she could pursue it in court. This would be a great thing to spray some pepper spray on, and just let the neighbor have them. I grow some peppers, including chiltepin peppers. A mockingbird came by frequently to eat the tiny ripe peppers, and apparently left black nightshade seeds in an empty pot to it.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.